This is Relaytalk with your host DKEN, and today we're going to go over 6 more games of round 3. This has been a really crazy round 3 so far, and there is a lot in store for you guys this episode. I think we had probably the closest match we've ever had in Relay 2. We had our first Igloo seed for 1.14, and we also had the longest match of all time. It sucked. So before we get on to any of that, I want you guys to quickly go down and click on the link that says game predictions. Just fill out a couple. There should be a lot less now, so hopefully you can just go through and do all of them. Please, it really helps with the show, especially since round 4 predictions is coming up soon, and I want to get some information on what you guys think. Yeah, before we start, I want to thank Rila, Mango, and Mishbanya for helping me out with the notes for this this episode. I don't know. I don't even know how I was able to just do all the notes all by myself in like round 1 or something. But yeah, these guys are a huge help. You will not get the episodes as quick as you would now without them. So yeah, I guess we can just jump right into it. I'm going to review the most entertaining match first today. And this is, Team Zatch versus the Doubters. And the Doubters win in, I'm not going to say the final time, just to keep things interesting. So we had 1.14 first. This 1.14 segment was actually pretty clean. It was basically the calm before the storm. Both runners pretty much doing normal 1.14 things. Doug does lose 2 perches in the end because I think he had blocks on like above his obsidian or bedrock or something. I don't even really know what like that does. I think it's because the dragon tries to perch on like the highest block available, and since I don't know. I don't really tower up for Bo anyway. And Roy does 2 cycle because he tries to do like full block. Because, no double bucket on the seed, unfortunately. And he does like 1 bed and he just drops down. Can't even finish it out. This is coming from your OG full block 1 cycler. It's me right here. I was the last person to use full block unironically. And I am here to say that it's really terrible for relay, especially, I guess, any tournament circumstance. Anyway, 1.14 is clean. Nothing really to talk about here. And we're going into 1.16. Here's a funny quote that I heard the commentators say. Here it is. In the Bastion at like 140, I can see this being the best relay 1.16 time. And it was. It could have been at least. It was like one of the best seeds we probably saw in 1.16. The Bastion had like 9 obsidian or something crazy. Enough diamonds for like a diamond axe, a diamond pickaxe. That doesn't happen at all. So our first death comes around when Epinoc throws like a pretty bad pearl over trying to get to the fortress, hits it, and falls all the way to the ground. And there's basically nowhere to block clutch on the side of something. And of all the things in his hotbar to try and like save himself with, he tries to do a flint and steel clutch, which is just the worst possible thing you could do because when you're landing, you light the fire and your items burn. Now, given they will spread out, so not everything will burn, but you could have used anything else. You could diamond pickaxe clutch and it would have done nothing. Anything would be better than flint and stealing. But Epinoc was not the only person to die in this fashion. Lyso also throws a terrible pearl, hitting like some blue tree in the middle of the nether. I know they're not trees, but I'm just going to call them that. And dying to fall damage as well, but no flint and steel clutch from her. And yeah, both. I don't think Lyso reset, but I believe Epinoc did. He wasted like a good 2 to 3 minutes on like world file confusion, because when you copy the world file, you expect it to be at the very top, but it's not because it's dated back to the creation of the world file. So when you copy it for a reset, you actually have to scroll down. It'll be somewhere in the middle, and it won't have a little icon. It'll just be that gray pack.png image or something. And Epinoc loses not that much time in the grand scheme of things. But World 2, Epoch dies in the Bastion, and at this point, Lyso was pretty far ahead. Unfortunately, did have to take a blind and not really a double travel. Mainly because of the terrible home portal positioning. It was like in the middle of a cave somewhere, and gets punished with like a 1k plus a distance to the stronghold, which is absolutely terrible. And upon reaching the stronghold, she doesn't have enough eyes to make it in, and that's probably because actually I don't really know, because if you use Ninja Brain Bot, then you don't really throw many eyes, but I guess without the calculator, if you're 1,000 away, you're going to throw a lot of eyes, and that's probably what happened. I don't really know for sure, but Lyso has to go back into Nether, and luckily there's a Warp Forest, but she gets absolutely destroyed on Enderman raids. She kills like 5, maybe even 6 before one finally drops, and Epoch is already in the end at this point, and yeah, like, up to this point, these 1.16 runs were pretty disgusting. Because 1.16 has a bit of a theme going in this relay tournament where it's very rare for someone to mess up. Because it's the fastest version. If you do die, the amount of time you lose recovering is not that much. Because number one, the run is so fast, but also, let's say you die in the end, you don't have to walk that far because there's nether travel just set up for you already. But yeah, Epoch fails the one cycle and does so by misclicking the glowstone twice inside of the respawn anchor instead of blowing it up, and he has to take a reset. So here we go again. Lyso is basically has enough eyes to get into the portal, while Epoch is on World 3, and wouldn't you know it, Epoch dies again in the Bastion for a second time and resets. Now Epoch is on the 4th world, which is just ridiculous. But on this 4th world, Epoch does actually get a pretty clean run. And you would think by now that Lyso would finish, but nope. Lyso waits an entire eternity to perch, for the dragon to perch. And she messes up the one cycle as well. And wouldn't you know it, Epoch on like reset number 4, he also messes up the one cycle again. This run is just absolutely insane. Neither of these two runners can get anything done. Luckily, Epoch has a crossbow, so everything should be fine. It's all cool. And yeah, the reason Lyso messed up her one cycle was because the dragon perched east to west, which basically every single 1.16 runner freaks out when that happens, and defaults to full block for some reason. Just because the dragon perches east-west doesn't mean you have to do full block. You can still be on the bottom. Wait, hold on. Is that true? Let me think. I remember looking at the stream, and there really was no difference between the full block and where she could have just placed the bed on the side of the obsidian like normal people do. Yeah. So you don't have to do full block. Just lay on the bottom of the portal like normal. But, full block, you're basically bound to get hit off. It's super, especially if you're not doing shift full block. That's basically a complete L. And Lyso forfeits after this. Which is strategically a bad play, because she had about like 40 more minutes before she would hit 90 minutes total play time. But I think it was more of a courtesy move to her teammates, because if you really stink up a version, you kind of don't want to just play for 90 minutes, because then your remaining teammate, who's playing 1.7, will not get any playtime at all. So Lyso just cuts the run there. She's done. And luckily, Epoch does have the crossbow, so he's able to finish out the end fight very cleanly. I'm kidding, of course. Epoch takes damage from the dragon trying to do his 4 cycle, and he doesn't have enough food. And so this dude resets for a 5th time. World 5. Epoch, post-Bastion, pearls into lava without the fire res. This is literally a beginner mistake. And it could be attributed to the fact that you have played this world an insane amount of times for probably like 50 minutes at this point. Your mental is probably dead. Just a beginner mistake, resets again, and at this point, Pix is playing 1.7, facing an incredibly tough Nether, dies to fighting Blaze, which, as if you didn't know as a chatter that there was a forfeit, it probably did not seem like it was a huge deal, and it technically wasn't because Team Zatch was basically destined to lose once Lyso took the forfeit, but just pointing that out there. This Nether in 1.7 was just absolutely awful. Pix dies like a second time, but this time like gets hit off the fortress and falls into the lava ocean. So just it was like a 14-minute time waste, basically having to reset. I think how many resets were there in this entire match? I probably should have counted this. It might hit double digits. I don't know. It's probably like 8, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, world number 6 for Epnoc. I was by this point I was getting like huge Groundhog Day vibes. Literally watching him enter the Bastion like 6 times, doing the same exact route, doing the same exact thing, taking damage from the same piglins, misplacing the same blocks every single time. And once you know it, he dies again in the Bastion. This is absolutely insane. For those watching during the time, I can't imagine how anyone was not entertained. Like this is absolutely insane. 1.16, guys, this is the fastest version, and this is what we get. And yeah, Epnoc nearly fails the 4-bed on like world number 6, world number 7. I can't even keep track anymore. And he finally kills the dragon with the quick charge crossbow, barely glitching out like an hour-long run. Oh man, and yeah, Speed was up in a crazy turn of events. Speed's run was actually asynchronous, and this is a huge mental advantage because if your teammates have pooped it up, you don't know if you should go fast because there's zero room for error, but you also don't know if you should like play it safe because clearly if it's taken this long and the other team hasn't finished yet, they've catastrophically failed as well. So it's kind of a game you don't want to play, and Speed's asynchronous run, there's no mental conflict because he did it presumably a couple days earlier or something like that. He also struggles with the terrible Nether. Both players get like disgusting rates, and Pix is actually able to like get 14 pearls despite finishing tower at like 14 minutes, which is just crazy. And Pix has a very impressive 14 arrow end fight, 14 arrows. We've seen runners go in with like double that and still fail. But unfortunately, it was not enough to win. Speed finishes out very cleanly with like a 28-minute run. And yeah, the Doubters win with a final combined time of 2 hours, 1 minute, and 2 seconds. This is the first match ever that has gone past 2 hours. It is a new worst time for a win in both relays, and I'm calling it now. It will never, ever, ever be beaten. This is the human limit of terrible play. This is absolutely the only thing that could make this worse is like a terrible 1.7 run. But like, man, that's like first of all, having 1.16 like screw up this much is a rarity in and of itself. So I mean, the fact that you would have to get both teams screw up plus a 1.7 run. I mean, this will never be broken. I mean, if it does, it will be in Relay 3 because the remaining teams are too good for this, I assume. Just to let you know, guys, this is a winner's bracket game. So every team that's in the loser's bracket right now, look at this match and be motivated by the fact that anything can happen. These two teams were in the winner brackets, and they played like absolute garbage. Okay, anything is possible. You guys can beat them. People in the loser bracket, you guys can make a run. Okay, I'm believing all of you. Okay, that's I spent a lot of time on that game, and I think it deserved a lot of time. Next game we have Series Dedication winning against a throwaway joke, which is my team. This is the match where we had an Igloo Seed for the first time in 1.14, and that was really cool. It's an honor to get that as probably the boomer of the entire 1.14 class, but it was really fun. Readyban actually, yeah, he routed the village and did first day trading, which did not work out. Missed the restocks like just by a couple seconds. Was only able to get 12 pearls, while I knew that I didn't even try to do first day trading because like I don't even do that normally ever. So I had a pretty clean nether split. I came back, probably blew up too many houses because I didn't really know how much wood I truly needed, and I ended up getting 29 pearls. That is 3 pearls away from 2 stacks. This is 1.14, guys. 29 pearls. And actually, you could argue that it led to my demise because I do end up dying to pearl damage on the way to the stronghold. Luckily, it's not too far away, but I miss out on like 2 minutes of advantage. But Readyban is decently far behind by this point, so it's not a huge deal. But the triangulation for both of us, absolutely disgusting. I overshoot my stronghold by like 500 blocks, which is insane. And Readyban, for a different reason, fails miserably. He loses angle pretty quickly, and you might be thinking, well, that's not even the thing that should be happening. But we kind of had a gentleman's agreement to do no F3 for this match because both of us know how to run no F3. And one of the things about no F3 triangulation is you got to 100% of the time, top priority, you got to be on angle. Because then you might be running extra distance more than you need to. And unfortunately, Readyban not able to keep the angle. I was able to keep the angle, but I ran extra distance anyway because I thought the thing was too far away. This thing was 1,200 blocks away from the village. So if you run this thing in like 1.15, this is an easy sub 20. Probably sub 18 maybe. I don't know. Both of us know if they 4-4 because we're like that. We're goats. And the nav is terrible. It's absolutely horrible. Not because the thing is far away from the starter staircase, but because it's intersecting with like a ravine, a huge cave system, a mine shaft. The portal is only 6 rooms away, but like none of us can find it like until after 5 minutes of being in there. And we both finished with like 30-minute runs. Absolutely terrible. I had a cool what was it? Yeah, jump slab, 5-bed no F3, 1 cycle. And May had a pretty funny fangirl moment over that, which was kind of funny watching back the VOD. But the thing is, in order to get all that clout, you need to completely throw the one cycle in your previous 2 matches because, as it turns out, slab jumping is really risky, even if you do shift slab, which is what I do. And that's the price of being cool for like 3 seconds. The other 2 versions were not as slow, but also not as cool, unfortunately. Multi, like, I think this was the first round where Multi did not immediately have to blind in order to catch up time for my terrible play. I convinced him to go back to the home portal, which is the meta basically in Relay 3 now. And yeah, he actually makes up time on Bosker because of a faster blaze fight, preemptive. Not because the preemptive actually worked, but while he was turning up the render distance, he just X-rayed the portal, which is a way to do it, I guess. Yeah, he gets his fastest time in Relay 1 and Relay 2. I think Multi-Portal finished with like a 14:31, which is very good. I know there's plenty, just looking at this list right now, there's a lot of even better runs, but good job, Multi-Portal. I got to support my team. Now, going into 1.7, Max was about 2 minutes behind, and time again, especially in Relay 1, we've seen this situation before where Max starts 3, 4, 2 minutes behind, and he's just able to make it up somehow because the guy is just insane at 1.7. He leaves the nether at low 6 minutes. That's how fast his pace was. And he front loads travel to the stronghold. He actually goes the right direction, which is just insane. That is just very good luck. But unfortunately, while he's basically on top of the stronghold, and he gets swarmed by mobs, and he's forced to retreat into this lake. And 1.7 water mechanics are absolutely terrible, so he moves at like half a mile per hour. and he gets bodied by a creeper and skeleton, and he dies, which is super rare for Max. He basically never dies. And yeah, the Blazer gets like a very clean 22:46, sealing the deal. I think like if he had finished even a minute slower, Max would have, without the death, obviously, Max would have probably finished first. But yeah, the Blazer getting a very good run. And we are eliminated from the tournament, but it's okay. I will still be here making these podcast episodes. Next game, we are single instance winning over Friendless. This is a loser bracket game. And yeah, this is not really too much happened in this match. It was pretty close throughout the entire thing. 1.14 had like absolutely insane seed. Mango gets really quick into Nether, like sub 3. Exit Nether is really fast, and is able to throw the first eye at 12:30, which is absolutely crazy. 12:30 is the time they start doing restocks. So you have to level up the cleric all the way, do a bunch of Fletcher trading, like on the second day, maybe even the first day if you have enough time, even before you can get the restock, and that's just crazy. Unfortunately, this kind of cool little event, if you can call it that, is ruined because Mango unfortunately messes up Ninja Bane bot, and coupled with the fact that they use Nether travel, kind of made things worse. And Marco makes up a lot of time, and yeah, Marco was actually on pretty good pace in the background, not as fast as Mango, but doesn't do Nether travel, does triangulation very quickly, a lot of good movement, and finishes like mid 21 minutes, which is really good for 1.14 because I don't know why, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point that 1.14 is the slowest version in the tournament. Like it's really kind of difficult to find sub 25 runs, even compared to like 1.7. So good job to Marco. Mango finishes about like 3 minutes after, and in 1.16, the two runners, I believe Cropro and who plays El Richie, traded leads basically throughout the entire run, basically due to differing Bastion and Fortress routes. El Richie not able to hit the I Spy, but it's 200 blocks away with ocean travel, so it's not too big of a huge deal. He ends up getting rolled like on perches, while Cropro brings the crossbow, able to get a pretty consistently quick perch. And Friendless finishes 1.16 only like a minute 30 behind a single instance. So in 1.7, there's definitely a lot of wiggle room, especially because of the nature of that version. 130 shouldn't be too bad. But Galactic has an insanely good run. Pix actually has a good run too, but it's just not enough to compete. And I have a little interesting stat to share with you guys about Galactic. He has the best average for 1.7. He averages 23 minutes, 28 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. This guy has been in the... No one's really talked about Galactic, I feel like. But Galactic is, like, on paper, probably the best 1.7 runner so far. I just want to shout out Max, by the way, who... I always got to shout out Max in some way on this podcast, but he is technically... He has 2 seconds faster of an average than Galactic does, but because Max has a DNF, it's not counted. So Max is cool. He's very fast, arguably faster than Galactic, but I mean, he's also eliminated, unfortunately, because we're a terrible teammate. But yeah, Galactic is the best 1.7 runner, and I just wanted to tell you guys that does exist, and single instance has a bright future because of that. 1.7 is a really volatile version, and the fact that you have the best 1.7 runner on your team means that like that little 130 advantage can be kept throughout such a crazy version, and that is really important for future games. Now, moving on, we have Team Blood Trail winning over the Magnificent Three. This was very interesting in the fact that Magnificent 3 was basically in the lead for the entire match, except for the very end. It was kind of a comeback win by Team Blood Trail. Now, we did see 1.15, and that was because Malin and who plays for Zaya. They agree to 1.15, and Malin loves 1.15. He's very experienced in it, and they both do first day trading on this seed, and Zaya doesn't really do too well here. Only gets 10 pearls in the first day, while Malin gets everything that he needs. Enters the nether at like sub 9. Very, very good pace. And Zaya has to go back on the second day to trade some extra pearls, obviously. And he could have made up some time on Malin because he found these enough diamonds for another pickaxe. A diamond pickaxe for another travel. But he didn't make that play. It's kind of a hard play to make, to be honest, because it's really not clear if that diamond pickaxe will help you out in the end. So it's fine. I mean, Malin finishes out with a sub 24, really fast run. Nice to see 1.15 in this relay just to get some diversity. And in 1.16, it's a bridge fashion. And Hofik, we don't see this a whole lot despite how good the seeds are, but he overlaps the Piglin trading and the Blazes, which is a great play because there is a lot of time to be made up. But unfortunately, the raids are so terrible, the Blaze raids, that he needs to leave the spawner early, go back to the Bastion to just make sure that his items don't despawn. So it's a little bit of a missed opportunity there, not really Hofik's fault. What is his fault is that he misses I Spy by like 300 blocks. But it's okay because Team Blood Trail is comfortably behind after that 1.15 run. And he finishes with like a clean 0 cycle, which is cool at 60 minutes. And we rarely get to see 0 cycle. This might have been the first one in 1.16 that we've seen so far. So yeah, always a cool thing. Nice little token for the audience, the chatters, because people always want to see new tech. And yeah, and 1.7 Lure for Team Blood Trail already starts to make up some time on Lacking Toast, thanks to a much faster nether split. And that alone, plus maybe a future time save by Lure, could have maybe put Team Blood Trail in this at least in reach for winning. But the main reason that Team Blood Trail gets a huge advantage is because Toast reaches the portal room and he's 1 eye short. And Lure is not that far behind. So at this point, Magnificent 3 is toast. Wait, wow, I just said that. Magnificent 3 is toast. Toast is the name of a player on Magnificent 3. That was not intentional. But it's very cool and funny, I guess, somewhat. And yeah, Blood Trail, Team Blood Trail wins this thing. Just one little mistake by Toast, maybe throwing too many eyes. I think what happened was that the stronghold was closer than both runners thought, and Lure just, I don't know, did better triangulation, just marginally enough to make it in. And yeah, shocking turnaround in the last few minutes of 1.7, and Team Blood Trail takes the victory for this game. Next we have Team Delta winning over Rockin' Balls. This is the closest match in Relay. I know I've said that probably quite a bit in previous episodes, but I think this is the closest one. And wouldn't you know it, Team Delta is the winner. This team is, I don't know how to say it, every single time that they win, it's by very little, but it's always enough. And they always make things work, and they're a very fast team, and they've never really messed up. Just going through here, their first game, they finished with like what, a 104 or 102, absolutely crazy. Their next game, getting tourney record 58 minutes. This game, well, I shouldn't spoil it, but it was very fast. Obviously, both Hade and Shy played the version 1.16 kind of slow, but it was. Some stuff was not really their fault, but some stuff was. I mean, just taking the safe route is always a nice thing, especially if you're in the winner's bracket. You really don't have too much to lose. Being in the winner's bracket is nice because you overall play less games in order to get to the same spot in the bracket compared to the people in the lower bracket. But, I mean, some of the time losses was like Hade going to the wrong ravine for the nether enter. Shy only getting 3 pigs from House Manhunt, which is not really controllable, which is just a shame. And yeah, Hade misses I Spy. Despite that, though, Hade able to enter the end like 25 seconds faster, and 1.16 was basically a perch race. And this small lead that Rock and Balls had was unfortunately chipped away at 1.7, and in the strangest way possible. So in the world file in 1.7, there was this little stack of like 8 arrows somewhere in the world, and that's not a huge deal really. But as the runners kind of went through their run, Frogs from Team Delta post Nether picked up these 8 arrows from dead skeletons, which you might say, okay, that's not too bad. But the thing is, these dead skeletons presumably would have died before night even started, which means that these dead skeletons died while the seed maker was testing out the world, which is the seed tester's fault for allowing those arrows to be there in the first place, because vanilla Minecraft, you would not see those arrows at all. I know this is kind of confusing, but just imagine these arrows were picked up before the first night even started, meaning there were no skeletons to spawn in the first day, meaning they should have never been there. Does that kind of makes? I hope I'm explaining this correctly, and this wouldn't be a huge deal if not for the fact that Frogs picked up these arrows and Hinar didn't, and this kind of makes a bit of a difference in the end of this run, because I think Hinar, he spends about a whole minute digging up gravel in the portal room or something like that, and that minute is very crucial because that is literally how far ahead Team Delta is heading into 1.14, which, by the way, had like an insane amount of gold from the temple, which is really nice. Had 14 ingots, which is a crazy amount. Mishbanya and Barato had really clean play by both the runners. I think, Mishbanya had like a 23-minute run, and he was able to make that like time save thanks to Stronghold travel. And he finished his version about 50 seconds before Barato did. But on the main stream, since Team Delta had the advantage, it seemed like Team Delta won. But since Mishbanya had a lot of like lag, or whatever you want to call it, because 1.14 is not very optimized, Rock and Balls requested a retime for this match since it seemed so close. And after all the things were figured out, Team Delta had won by, you're not going to believe this, a total of 9 seconds. They beat Rock and Balls by 9 seconds. That is crazy. And the statement from, I'll probably put it up on the screen, so for those of you watching, you can pull it up. These are the statements from one of the relay organizers, just talking about, first of all, how the retime was broken down, but also concerning these random 8 arrows that Frogs had found, and whether or not that actually, I think the argument is that while they may have provided some kind of advantage, it is not quantifiable, which means they can't deduct or add time from Team Delta. And I guess that's kind of it's an argument for sure. I think it's right to say that you can't quantify how much time the arrows saved. But it's also not right to just completely reject that they ever gave Frogs an advantage at all. But the thing is, they won by 9 seconds. So basically anything that Hinart did differently could have made up 9 seconds. Nonetheless, Team Delta squeaks away with another insanely down-to-the-wire victory. And they move on. Now, we have our last game for today. The Cottage Builders winning over Super Hot Fire. I was starting to like Super Hot Fire, I will admit. I was very impressed by their 102 from last round over Team T-Wags. And unfortunately, I can't say the same about this game. 1.14 was pretty clean. Sort of Blob and Branson followed pretty similar paces. But Branson kind of lost time, struggling with a late game, and which is I'd say it's a little hard to practice, because the late game is not something you think about when you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to practice 1.14," because what you're thinking is you're going to practice the trading splits, because that's where a lot of time save comes in. You'd think, and even with F3, Ninja Brain Bot, distance estimation, whatever you want to use, you know, like finding the stronghold is a lot easier now. Preemptive, no, doesn't work in 1.14 because it's banned. Can't use the pie chart, but it's just difficult. And unfortunately, Super Hotfire falls around 2 minutes behind, which is not too crazy. It's small enough lead where it's probably going to change throughout the course of the match. And in 1.16, kind of the same theme as in 1.14. Danger and Emmy basically both get sub 15s, which is really sick. There was really no measured problems to talk about here. And Danger is able to make up about a minute on the Cottage Builders. Just small time saves here and there. I believe Danger has played basically very spotless throughout the tournament. Maybe I could think of a game where things went awry, but yeah, Danger got like a 12:59 round 2, and now they got a 13:41. For round 1, their run is listed as a DNF, so I don't remember the pace, but yeah, Danger delivering once again with another very clean run. Unfortunately, all of that goes down the drain. 1.7. Cottage Builders famously opened up in their debut performance, round 1. Very, very hard to watch 1.7 run against, who was it? The only team with pants. I think I famously called it a competition between the two runners of who could throw more. And this is the sequel to that. So Oxy basically was not able to get pearls on the first night cycle and has to basically wait a whole day and then maybe a little bit of the next night just to get the amount of pearls. We haven't really seen that happen a whole lot in this tournament because the rates are boosted a little bit, and the fact that OBT is just insane now. But unfortunately, Sprockle was not able to capitalize on that, and he takes quite a bit of resets. And I think one of the resets was at the very end, where he gets knocked into the void trying to fight the dragon, which is just super sad. And this is not the first void death we've seen from Super Hotfire. That's a reference to Branson trying to bridge across the end gap with gravel. But yeah, it's a reset basically. You really have nothing else to do. And yeah, both runners struggle quite a bit with deaths. And the huge story is that Oxy is able to recover the run while Sprockle unfortunately does not have the same fate. And Oxy finishes with like a 51-minute time for 1.7. It's not back-to-back, but two not very good performances. But obviously, Cottage Builders squeaking away with a victory. Super Hotfire, I think I was correct. My initial instinct was correct that this team is not consistent. Doesn't mean they're not good or they can't have a good time, but you see one game here and you have no idea what's going to come in the next one. And Super Hotfire is out of the tournament. And yeah, that is it for this episode. There are 4 more games coming up, and that is the second part of the round 3 losers bracket, which still hasn't finished as the time of recording. I believe there's one more game, so I will try to get that out as quick as possible. And I believe that's the end of the episode, and see you guys next time.